Imagine driving through your neighborhood and seeing every single gas station empty. No fuel, no relief, and no clear answers. You pull up to your usual station, only to find the pumps closed, the sign reading, "Out of service," and a line of frustrated drivers stretching down the street. At first, it feels like a fluke, but then you realize it's happening across the state. From Los Angeles to Sacramento, from San Diego to the Bay Area, hundreds of gas stations are shutting down, leaving Californians scrambling for fuel. It's a crisis that has caught residents, businesses, and even government officials off guard. Millions are asking the same question: how did it get this bad? And why is there seemingly no solution in sight? Hi, I'm Pama Theodore, and today we're diving deep into the unfolding gas crisis in California, exploring why the state is facing this emergency, what it means for everyday life, and whether the governor really has control, or if the system is unraveling right before our eyes. To understand the severity of this crisis, it helps to grasp the sheer scale of the problem. Over 400 gas stations across the state have either temporarily closed or announced indefinite shutdowns in the last 2 weeks. In some neighborhoods, drivers report waiting for hours in line just to fill a few gallons of gas. It's a situation that is causing not just frustration, but real disruptions. Commuters can't get to work on time, delivery services are slowed, and families find themselves cutting back on essential trips. In certain areas, people have even begun rationing fuel, filling only half a tank at a time to ensure they can make it through the week. It's a crisis that is hitting both urban centers and rural towns, leaving no part of California untouched. The impact on prices has been immediate and dramatic. Where fuel is available, prices have skyrocketed. Premium gas in some locations has climbed past $6 per gallon, while regular unleaded hovers near record highs. For many families, these increases aren't just numbers, they're a real strain on monthly budgets. Grocery bills, rides to work or school, and even the cost of essential deliveries have all been affected. For small businesses, these rising expenses are particularly punishing. Delivery drivers, taxis, and rideshare workers have had to adjust routes and schedules to account for fuel shortages. Even emergency services have felt the strain, with some reports indicating that ambulance response times have been affected by station closures and long lines. The causes of the crisis are complex, but largely homegrown. California has one of the most unique and strict environmental regulatory frameworks in the country. These regulations, aimed at reducing emissions and promoting cleaner energy, also make the state more vulnerable to disruptions in fuel supply. When refineries go offline for maintenance or unexpected issues, the ripple effects can be severe. Unlike other states that rely on multiple refineries and interstate fuel shipments, California's system is more isolated and heavily dependent on local production. This means that even small operational problems can quickly escalate into statewide shortages. Combined with transportation bottlenecks and aging infrastructure, it's a perfect storm for a fuel crisis. Political pressure is mounting, and the governor finds himself at the center of a storm he cannot easily control. Critics argue that state leaders failed to anticipate the magnitude of this crisis and left residents with little guidance or contingency planning. Social media is ablaze with angry posts, videos of long gas lines, and viral images of closed stations. Lawmakers have called emergency meetings, demanding answers and proposing temporary policy adjustments to ease the situation. But for residents, these debates feel distant and ineffective. They are on the ground, navigating the consequences of a system struggling to respond to a rapidly evolving emergency. The human impact of this crisis is staggering. Families are being forced to make difficult choices, skip non-essential travel, delay appointments, or ration their daily fuel. Seniors, who often rely on scheduled medical transport, face increased anxiety and uncertainty. Essential workers, including nurses, teachers, and delivery drivers must adjust their routines to accommodate unpredictable fuel availability. Some communities have reported tensions rising, with drivers queuing for hours, sometimes resorting to arguments or disputes. It's a stark reminder that energy crises aren't just economic. They affect the fabric of daily life. California's situation is unique when compared to the rest of the country. Across the United States, gas supplies remain largely stable. States like Texas, Florida, and New York are reporting normal operations at gas stations, which indicates that this is not a nationwide issue caused by global oil shortages. Instead, the problem is distinctly Californian, shaped by state-specific regulations, refinery capacity limits, and recent operational challenges. This local nature of the crisis adds another layer of complexity, as solutions require navigating regulatory hurdles as well as logistical and infrastructural constraints. Experts are warning that if swift action isn't taken, the crisis could persist for weeks or even months. Some stations may never reopen, particularly smaller, independently owned locations that cannot absorb the financial strain of disrupted supply. Analysts suggest that larger chains may be able to temporarily stabilize, but even they are subject to supply chain vulnerabilities. Meanwhile, residents are bracing for a prolonged period of uncertainty, trying to plan their daily lives around unpredictable fuel availability. Despite the challenges, there are strategies Californians can use to cope. Using apps like GasBuddy or Waze can help locate stations that still have fuel. Carpooling, public transportation, and ride-sharing can reduce the demand for personal fuel. Keeping a small legal fuel reserve is advisable, particularly for those who rely on their vehicles for work or essential travel. Planning trips efficiently, combining errands, and avoiding unnecessary driving can also help stretch available fuel further. While these measures won't solve the crisis, they provide practical ways to mitigate its immediate impact. The economic consequences extend far beyond individual households. Delivery services are slower, transportation costs for goods have increased, and the agricultural sector, which depends heavily on fuel for equipment and transport, is experiencing heightened expenses. Some economists predict that if shortages continue, the economic ripple effect could reach neighboring states, influencing everything from food prices to transportation costs on a national scale. California's energy crisis, while localized in its cause, could thus have far-reaching consequences. The political ramifications are equally significant. Governor, insert name, faces scrutiny not just from residents, but also from fellow politicians and media outlets. The question of preparedness and accountability is central to the debate. Critics argue that years of policy decisions prioritizing environmental regulations without adequate contingency planning have contributed to this crisis. Supporters of the governor note that California's policies have long-term benefits for sustainability and emissions reduction. But in the immediate term, residents are left grappling with shortages and rising prices. How this affects upcoming elections, public trust, and policy decisions remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. Leadership will be judged by its response to this emergency. Adding further context, California has faced energy-related crises before, including rolling blackouts in the early 2000s and local fuel shortages during natural disasters. Each of these events exposed vulnerabilities in infrastructure, policy, and crisis management. Yet, despite past experiences, the current situation seems to have caught both residents and policymakers off guard, highlighting gaps in resilience and planning. Lessons from previous crises suggest that proactive measures, including emergency fuel reserves and flexible regulatory adjustments, can mitigate the impact, but implementation requires decisive action, a quality that residents are now demanding. Personal stories from residents illustrate the human side of the crisis. One Los Angeles driver described waiting 3 hours at a gas station only to leave empty-handed, returning home frustrated and worried about making it to work the next day. In San Francisco, a delivery driver reported skipping lunch to ensure he could refuel and continue making deliveries, fearing penalties from his employer. In smaller towns, local businesses have seen customers cancel orders or delay visits due to uncertainty about fuel availability. These anecdotes underscore that the crisis is not just about economics. It's about real people navigating the challenges of daily life under unexpected stress. The media has played a crucial role in highlighting the crisis, providing both information and a platform for public frustration. News outlets have covered the long lines, posted updates on gas availability, and interviewed both officials and residents to provide context. Social media, meanwhile, has amplified the story, allowing users to share experiences, tips, and outrage. The combination of traditional reporting and social media coverage has kept the crisis in the public eye, putting additional pressure on policymakers to act swiftly and decisively. Experts suggest that long-term solutions will require a multifaceted approach, expanding refinery capacity, creating emergency fuel reserves, improving transportation infrastructure, and introducing more flexible regulatory measures are all part of the equation. Additionally, technological solutions like advanced logistics software, real-time fuel tracking, and predictive maintenance for refineries can help prevent similar crises in the future. While these strategies won't provide immediate relief, they highlight the importance of planning and innovation in managing a modern energy system. For residents currently facing the crisis, practical advice remains key. Prioritize essential travel, avoid peak demand times at gas stations, and stay informed through official channels and reliable apps. Community sharing and communication can also help, as neighbors can alert one another about fuel availability, alternate routes, or carpooling opportunities. While inconvenient and stressful, these actions can reduce the personal impact of shortages and help communities navigate challenging circumstances collectively. Looking at the bigger picture, California's gas crisis is a stark reminder of the delicate balance between environmental policies, infrastructure resilience, and everyday life. The state has long been a leader in sustainability and emissions reduction, but the current situation demonstrates that even well-intentioned policies require robust contingency planning. Without adequate safeguards, residents can find themselves caught between ambitious policy goals and the practical realities of daily life. In the coming weeks, all eyes will be on the governor and state officials. Residents are demanding transparency, timely updates, and actionable solutions. How the government responds will not only affect the immediate crisis, but also shape public perception, trust, and future policy decisions. The stakes are high, and the consequences of inaction are visible in every long line, every empty pump, and every frustrated driver across California. In the meantime, Californians must adapt. Planning ahead, staying informed, and using available tools can help reduce the stress and disruption caused by fuel shortages. Communities can support one another, sharing information and resources to navigate the crisis more effectively. While the situation is challenging, it also demonstrates resilience, adaptability, and the importance of collective action. California's gas crisis is more than just empty pumps and long lines. It's a lesson in how quickly complex systems can unravel under stress, and how essential leadership, planning, and communication are during emergencies. As the state navigates this challenge, residents, policymakers, and businesses alike will need to work together, combining immediate solutions with long-term planning to ensure a more resilient energy future. Stay informed, plan ahead, and remember that even in chaos, knowledge is power. If you want updates on this unfolding situation, tips for navigating the shortages, and expert insights, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share it with others in your community. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned as we continue covering this crisis in California, exploring its impacts, and tracking how the state moves forward.